Hey y'all, it's Fab Jen. I'm back. I am doing a get ready video with me, henceforth the title. And this is just going to be the face. This is not going to be the eyes or possibly not be the lips. I just kind of want to show you some different ways that I apply my facial makeup. My routine does change ever so often. Sometimes I'll do creams and liquids strictly, or I might do powders or just concealers and color correctors, things like that. It just depends on my mood and if I want to try something new. So today I'm just going to highlight, contour, and foundation, all that just with liquid products, and I'm going to show you what I use so you can see if this is something you want to do. Products, and it might seem like a lot of products, but I feel like it's a little bit softer, a little bit more natural. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color correct. I have a really bad hyperpigmentation mark here and about one right here, but this one's the one I'm mainly concerned about. So that one's probably more than likely going to bleed through. So I'm going to take my Ben Nye Media Pro Mojave Adjuster in burnt orange. I'm just going to place it right here. The mirror is in front of me, so you will see me turning towards the front, but this is all I'm doing. The reason I think in this is to stretch the skin, to make sure that the skin is stretched and I'm getting all that coverage in. And then when I relax, everything that is placed where I need it to be will stay there, if that makes any sense. Then I'm going to go in with the concealer. I don't necessarily have to do that since I'm going to be using a lot of foundations in this video, but I'm going to go in with a concealer. This is optional to do this with the color corrector. But say for instance, if I wasn't contouring or highlighting with a foundation, I would just go over this with a concealer. But for all intended purposes, I'm just going to go over it with a little bit of concealer. I'm going to take my dish and I'm going to start with my highlight. You don't have to start with highlight. You could skip it and just do your foundation then highlight. It's your preference, but this is how normally I do it. But again, my routine changes from time to time. So now I'm going to take the Lancome Tint Idole 24-Hour Makeup in the color 430 Bisque C. This is a cool color, so this is going to have a little bit more of a yellow undertone, which is going to be perfect for highlighting for me.
And the brush that I'm using is Makeup Forever's 108 brush, 108 brush. These brushes are best used when they're freshly cleaned. Spot clean them if you can in between foundation and or concealer or powders, because I find that they perform better when they're clean. It's easier to maneuver the product, and you don't get streaking and things like that. I mean, I normally don't get streaking altogether with this brush, but sometimes I do. When I haven't cleaned it, like I'll just leave it there, and then the next application, the third application, I have to clean it, because it doesn't perform at its best when it's dirty, so, or filled with product. So I'm going underneath my eyes. I'm making that face, so, and that's just pulling my skin down, because I have a lot of skin underneath my eyes, and allow me to get underneath my eyes. And I'm going back in. You can paint it on. You can pat it on. It's whatever your preference is. Also, before I did apply this foundation, I did prep my skin. I did use the Becca Mattifying Primer in my T-zone, and on the outer perimeter I used Makeup Forever's primer that they're going to be discontinuing because they're coming out with new primers. So I had a sample of that, and I'm using that up, and I'm going to be sad. This is my second deluxe size sample that I've used up. I'm really picky about my primers in the sense of anything that doesn't mattify. I'm really picky. So that primer really impressed me. I tried Smashbox Pore Minimizer, which is really nice too, and I've tried Clinique, I've tried Estee Lauder, I have some other primers in there that I've tried L'Oreal, I've tried a gamut of primers, but that primer by Makeup Forever I really do like. So I'm going back with the 530 because I want to highlight a little bit more. And I want to make sure I get my forehead and get that coverage that I want, so that way I don't have to use so much concealer when I go in next. Down the bridge of my nose. Now when I do this, this doesn't have to be perfect because we'll be contouring. The reason I use a lot of product is because I do have hyperpigmentation due to eczema. So I will be using, a normal person, someone who has just even skin tone would probably need a half a pump of this to really go underneath their eyes and things like that. But since I have some, again, hyperpigmentation, I feel like personally, I need to go back in and make sure it's as covered as possible. So I'm going to take it all the way up here to the temple.
Sure get them cheeks. So after I finish placing my base highlight, you don't have to go any further than this if you don't want to highlight anymore. But me, after this, I apply my foundation. I mix Lancome's Tint Idole 24 Hour in the color 500 with Lancome's Tint Miracle, not Tint Miracle Nude or Nude Miracle. Don't be confused with that. It looks like this. And this is for more for a dewy, hydrated look. My skin's a little bit dry, even though I'm combination. And I find that these two paired together work really well for combination skin, especially if you need just a little bit of hydration in it. And then plus the 500 is a little bit red for me, especially in the winter, because I've lost my summer shade and now I'm into my winter shade. Brush the bottom part to mix it, so I have some left on the brush, so I don't want to waste any product. I'm taking my Sephora 53 brush, which looks like this, and I'm going to start blending that in. And you're going to see it, even though you're not going to see it on this side, you'll see it on the other. So start with one side. And I'll blend the edges of the highlight. Around the nose here, and right here. I don't want to go up into the highlight because I'm going to lose that color. It won't be as bright. However, if you want to tone that down with your foundation, you can. You're more than welcome to do that. Again, this is just how I'm doing it. So, got that side pretty good. I'm taking a little bit down my neck because I have some eczema patches. So, you can already see it's got a nice little bit of dewiness to it. Also, I'm still going to powder and my skin is even. And now I'm going to go on this side so where you can see it. This side for me typically is a little bit easier to, not easier, but it goes on better because I don't have as much hyperpigmentation on this side, so I don't have to use as much product, whereas the other side I feel like I do because that's where most of my problem areas are. So again, you see I'm not going all the way underneath in the highlight, I'm just going around the edges of the highlight right here. That's the edges. I still got a nice amount of product because I use one pump of the I use one pump of the 500. I will use 1.5 or 1.25 pump of the 500 and then one full pump of the Miracle foundation. So I'm going to use all of these. Bam. So bam, bam, done with that. I'm taking Lancome's concealer in Cami. That's what it looks like. It kind of looks like the LA Girl. It looks like to me, or reminds me a lot of, as far as color, the LA Girl Pro Concealer in Almond or beige or something like that, or almond or fawn. Kind of reminds me of that, but more so almond than fawn. So I'm going to take that and I'm going back over that highlighted area. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't. It's just personal preference. So I look scary. This is looking cray cray and the bray bray. That's the way it's supposed to look. I'm taking that same brush, that 108 brush that I used to do the first highlight, and I'm going back and I'm going to blend it all out. I'm going to go back in with that 53 brush that I used to apply my foundation. I'm just going to blend out the edges. I didn't add any more product, so I'm just going to go around the edges of the highlighter here and just blend it. Okay, so I blended out my highlight with my foundation, and I'm going to go in with a liquid contour. Now, I normally would have just left it like this and probably go in with a bronzer to contour. I'm taking Lancome's Tint Idole 24-hour foundation to color 550. This, you don't have to use Lancome. It can be any one of your choosing, a darker color foundation, whether it's Revlon, L'Oreal, or if it's Givenchy. I don't care, whatever, it's your preference. This is what I have available, and this is what I'm showing you with. So I'm taking that with a Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush. I'm just gonna take that. I use like 2 mini squirts, and then I'm going to place it in the areas I would a cream or powder highlight.
I do have a darker shade that I have. I want more of a dramatic contour, but today I'm not trying to do all of that. That's just a little bit. This is work, and it's going to be on a Tuesday. By the time this posts up, it'll be like a weekend, but this will be Tuesday for me, and I don't do real dramatic looks unless it's Friday, Saturday. I might do a more dramatic contour, but for today, a softer, natural look. You can already see the contour there. Just taking a little bit, letting that one sit there for a little bit, then going in my temple area, buffing that in where I want it, going down my jaw area. If you want to, you can take it down your jaw. This will slim down the jaw area.
Got everything somewhat blended like I like it. Going back in with that same brush, no added product that I used to apply my foundation and to blend out my highlighter. I'm using the same one again with no added product to blend the edges of the highlight and the contour together.
And I'm mainly just sticking with the contour and the edges. So I just wanted to have a gradient effect. No lines, just gradient. Now, after this, that's pretty much it. You can set your whole face with a translucent powder. You can go back in, you can bronze. That's what I do, is I go back and I set everything with a bronzer or a highlighting powder, and you're done. So after this, you can just set it with some powder or a spray and be on your merry way. So, and when I do this, I'm just making sure everything is as even as possible, that I'm not missing any spots. And I smile because I want my highlight to be right on my apples. Lip. Carry it down my neck, and then bam. There it is. And now the next step is to set this, and I'm going to show you how I set everything.
Okay, so I'm going to take a bronzer, and this is the Lancome Star Bronzer Lumiere Shimmer. That's the one I'm using. Usually I use MAC's Refined Golden, but since I have all Lancome products on, I might as well just keep it in the Lancome family. I'm going to take this with my Makeup Forever 132 brush. I'm just going around the perimeter. And what this is, it doesn't really give you any definition. It just gives you a nice sun-kissed glowy look. And I'm using this to do a gradient effect. Do that, and all this is going to do is just add a nice subtle glow to the skin. But before I go any further, I'm going to set my under eye area. Usually I set my under eye area first and my face, then I go in with the bronzer. I skipped the step, but you know what? Shit happens. Sometimes I pack this on, especially if I see any hyperpigmentation coming through. This also helps bring that highlight back in. Okay, better. Now we're going to take Marc Jacobs Cocoa powder. Sorry, Marc Jacobs powder, Perfection powder, and cocoa. I'm going to use that all around my face today. Sometimes I use MAC, sometimes I use Marc, sometimes I'm using other stuff. It just depends. I'm not loyal to any particular brand, just whatever I feel like grabbing for that day. So I'm going to take the Makeup Forever 130 brush like this, and I'm just going to apply it. Swirl my brush in it. Kind of pat it into the face here. Even though I did do the bronzer, I didn't do a dark bronzer, so it's okay. So. The reason I'm just pressing it in is because sometimes it just works better that way and doesn't shift anything. Not saying that this brush does that, but sometimes, you know, with my hyperpigmentation, I just like to press it in so that way I don't lose any foundation in that particular area. So now that's when I would normally go back in, do the bronzer like this. I'm just going to use what's left on this brush and kind of do like that. Bam. I'm taking Shea Moisture's Illuminating Powder in Mandalay Dusk to contour, to do my darkest contour first. I'm taking the Marc Jacobs, the Shape Brush, which is number 15. This is a new brush from Marc Jacobs. I absolutely loved it. And I'm just placing the product. All this is going to just help with that gradient, soft, focused contour. Would you do this every day? No. Would this be going out, photos, things of that nature? Yes. If you worked at a makeup counter, would this be something you would wear? Yeah, if you wanted to. You don't have to, but this is what I prefer to do. Makeup is very personable. What may be good for me might not be good for you. To some, this would just be cake face brigade. It would just be too much makeup. I get that. I wrap my mind around it. Do I put this on other people and slap makeup on them? Absolutely not. This is just how I like to do it. So I'm taking that down the neck, around the jawline, everywhere I applied contour to. And you always want to stay here and upward. Right here you can move a little bit up, but here you don't want to move it too much up because it'll disturb the highlight part. Just enough. Back, forth, back, forth. If you're thinking about this or the Eda brush, I'd get this one because this one doesn't shift. Okay, so I'm done with that one. Now I'm going to take the CoverGirl Queen Collection bronzer in Ebony, and I'm going to go back over that same area to add a little bit more warmth back into it versus it being a little bit harsh or too deep. Brings back that nice red golden color to the skin. Be very careful with this one because it's pigmented as crazy. and it can go too far. Just be careful. Right now all I'm doing is placing the product. So I placed it. You can go back and blend. Woo! That nose though, snatch that nose. So I like how everything is looking. I'm gonna go back in with that Makeup Forever 130 brush with no added product. I'm just gonna go back over that contoured bronzer area just to kind of better blend everything together. However, if you feel like, ooh, I may have went a little heavy-handed with my bronzer, go back with your setting powder and then that will dull it out. I'll show you for all intended purposes. See, that kind of unifies it a little bit more and tones down that color a little. Okay, so that's pretty much how I do my foundation. I'm not going to show you the blush and the lip and all that other stuff, but I'm just kind of just showing you the face and exactly what I do. After this, I'm going to go back in with a blush, with a highlighter, lipstick, spray a misting spray, then spray a setting spray on top of it. Boom, done. So, and it locks into place and doesn't move. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. That's Ariana right here. Hold on. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, rate, comment, and subscribe if you like, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.